Have you ever blocked out 2 hours on your calendar to make outreach calls? I mean, you were motivated, had your coffee ready, your computer was on, and your CRM was open. You felt like today's going to be the day. Then an email pops up. Okay, you say, just answer this one email. 5 minutes later, you check LinkedIn. Then your phone vibrates. All of a sudden, you're scrolling through a few notifications. Then you realize, whoa, my coffee's empty. Might as well go grab another cup because, I got these phone calls to make. So you stop, chat with a few people on the way to get your coffee. You have a little small talk. You finally saunter back to your desk. You stretch, look at the clock, and wow, somehow an entire hour has disappeared. Does that sound familiar? Most people would tell you that's a discipline problem, but it may not be that. It could be something a little different. You may be trying to perform 3 completely different jobs, and nobody ever told you that each one of those jobs requires a different mindset. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode, because this simple misunderstanding has derailed a lot of businesses in the past. I'm Rashid Hanif, and over the past 3 decades, I've had the opportunity to work with thousands of sales professionals. I managed them, I coached them, and I've observed thousands of sales conversations, but one lesson has stayed with me throughout all those years. And it's when people fail to achieve their sales goals, it's more than likely because they don't fully understand their role, or they haven't developed the mindset necessary for the role. It isn't usually about their sales skills. So today I want to share something that completely changed the way I think about sales. Sales isn't just one job. It's, by my count, 3 different jobs with 3 different personalities and 3 different mindsets. And if you're a solopreneur, in many instances, you're expected to perform all 3, which is why many businesses begin to struggle. Not because the business owner isn't talented or because they don't work hard, but because they're trying to become 3 different people daily, and many times before lunch. Think about the world's larger companies with hundreds of thousands of employees. Do you think they hire one person to generate leads, close every sale, onboard every customer, answer every question, solve every complaint, and then on top of that, ask for referrals as well? Of course not. They specialize them. One team generates the opportunities. Another team converts those opportunities, while a third team protects those opportunities after each sale. Every department has one mission. Every employee knows exactly what success looks like for them. But then we start our own business, and suddenly we're expected to do every one of those jobs. I mean, we're the marketing department. We become the sales team. We're customer service. We're accounting. We're human resources. We're IT support. Sometimes we're even janitorial services. And again, does this sound familiar? Now, here's what makes it even harder. Each of the specific sales roles requires a completely different emotional state. You don't simply change what you do. You change who you have to become. Let's look at the first sales role. I'll call this person the hunter. Most people will call them like lead generator, but their entire purpose is simple. It's to find opportunities, and that's it. Hunters wake up every morning asking themselves one question: who can I talk to today? They understand something many business owners never fully grasp. Every no gets them one step closer to yes. Rejection isn't personal, it's mathematics. If 9 people say no, then that 10th one may be your largest client. Hunters don't cry over rejection. They count activity. They understand something I learned years ago. You can't control who buys, but you can absolutely control your activity. Like how many quality calls you're going to make. That's the game they play, and believe it or not, They enjoy it. Now, some of you listening right now are thinking, enjoy cold calling? Absolutely. To them, it's exciting. They love meeting new people. It's the networking. It's introducing themselves. It's finding opportunities that no one else sees or wants to see. They're naturally curious and they're energized by possibilities. Every new conversation could become that next new client, that next partnership, a new referral. That possibility energizes them. Now, here's where it can get interesting. If a large company were recruiting a hunter, they wouldn't necessarily look for the same qualities they'd want in someone servicing their clients. They'd look for someone who's resilient, optimistic, who is comfortable hearing the word no 20 times, possibly at the start of their day. A person who doesn't need external motivation and can create their own momentum from absolutely nothing. Now, hunters also tend to love competition, but not necessarily against other people, but against themselves. Can I make 5 more calls? Can I book 2 more appointments today? Can I beat yesterday's numbers? That's exciting to them. But every strength can also have a weakness. Now, hunters usually don't love administrative tasks. They're not in love with lengthy service conversations or maintaining existing accounts. To them, those activities feel like they're driving with the parking brake on. They'd rather be finding that next opportunity. Now, here's a question for you. When you look at your calendar and see the next networking event or the next business luncheon or blocks for making prospecting calls or making introductions, do those activities energize you? If your answer is yes, there's a possibility the hunter already lives inside of you. But maybe you're sitting there thinking, Rashid, I'd rather clean my garage than do some of that other stuff. First off, you're not alone. Secondly, that doesn't make you a bad business person. It simply means being a hunter doesn't naturally fit your personality. And that's an important distinction to make because many business owners spend years trying to force themselves into a role that drains them instead of recognizing, you know what? Maybe this just isn't the hat I'm wired to wear. Now, before you think, well, I'll tell you what, I'll skip lead generation. Nah, because every business has to have a hunter. The only question is, who is it in your business? Is it you? Could it be another salesperson, a marketing system, maybe an AI assistant? Someone has to hunt. Because without opportunities, does nothing else really matter? No opportunities means nothing to close, nothing to service. Nothing's going to grow, which also means there's nothing to take to the bank. And nobody wants that. So that brings us to the second personality. And this is where many people mistakenly believe sales actually begins, but it doesn't. Sales doesn't begin with closing. Sales begins long before someone ever asks for the business. So if the hunter's job is to find that opportunity, the second personality's job is to win the opportunity. I call this person the closer. This is the role most people think of when they hear the word sales because they're out there negotiating, they're presenting, they're handling those objections, they're asking for the business, they're talking about price, they're signing agreements. But here's something I've learned after more than 30 years of coaching. The best closers don't convince people to buy. They help people become confident enough to make a decision. And there's a difference. Pushy salespeople try to force a decision while professional salespeople guide them. That's why some of the highest performing salespeople I've ever coached weren't the loudest people in the room. They weren't the fastest talkers. They weren't the slickest ones or the smoothest ones. They simply knew how to ask the right questions, listen carefully, and then confidently recommend a solution. Their mindset is different from the hunter. Because the hunter wakes up asking every day, who could I meet today? The closer wakes up asking, who can I help make a decision? Now, there's another thought that may be running through their mind. Let's be honest. They're also thinking, hey, let's make a little money today. And there's nothing wrong with that. Revenue isn't a dirty word. Without revenue, there's no business. Without business, there's no employees. There's no customers. There's no impact. We got to understand that profit allows purpose to continue. But imagine you're recruiting someone specifically for this role. Would you hire the exact same personality you wanted answering customer service calls all day? Probably not. You're looking for someone who's comfortable leading conversations, someone who doesn't panic when objections start to arise, someone who can discuss money and price without apologizing for it, someone who believes in the value of what they're offering to their clients. They got to be confident, they got to be decisive, they got to be persuasive. Someone that has a keen sense of urgency. Now, those characteristics matter because indecision kills sales. People don't usually buy because you gave a great presentation. They usually buy because you helped relieve or remove uncertainty. That's your job as a closer. Not pressure or manipulation, but clarity. Think about a great physician. You don't want your doctor saying, well, maybe this medicine I'll give you will work, or maybe it won't. I'm not really sure. No, you should want confidence. You want someone who says, based on everything you shared with me and my experience, here's what I recommend. Professional sales works the same way. Confidence builds trust. Now, can confidence become arrogance? Absolutely. And we've all met those salespeople. The one who talks over people, interrupts, pushes, treats every conversation like some competition instead of a consultation. That's not confidence, though. That's insecurity wearing some nice red bottom shoes and having a Rolex on. The best closers know when to speak and when silence needs to do some of the work. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say after asking for the business is simply nothing. Just pause. People may need room to think. Now, let's talk motivation, because closers love results. They love winning, achieving goals, solving problems, hearing someone say, let's do it. What frustrates them are prospects who won't decide. Having big meetings that really should have been an email, and conversations that go in circles. Also, that famous line of, I need to think about it. Now, don't misunderstand me. Sometimes people genuinely do need time, but at other times, they're simply avoiding making a decision. Great closers know the difference. Now, let's shift gears completely because the third personality couldn't be more different. So if the hunter finds opportunities and the closer wins opportunities, then someone has to keep those opportunities. I call this person the customer champion. Some companies call it customer success or account management. Many will say just customer service, but the title really doesn't matter. The mission does, and it's to create remarkable experiences so customers never want to leave. Now, this person wakes up asking a completely different question. They're thinking about, how can I make someone's day better? Not who can I call, who can I close? Instead, it's how can I create a wow experience? These people are relationship builders, they're trust builders, they're loyalty builders. They got to be patient, empathetic, emotionally intelligent. They're dependable, but they're also excellent listeners. And they're calm when everyone else is frustrated. And let's be honest, sometimes they deserve hazard pay because who usually calls into service? Is it the people having that great day? Of course not. It's the people that are having a rotten day and something went wrong. They're frustrated, they're confused, they're disappointed, and sometimes they're angry. And I know I've been there. And I'm really sorry to those that caught it from me in the past. But the champion somehow has to remain calm. They listen and solve problems. Then try to leave that customer in a better position than when they called in. And that's a gift. Now, if I'm recruiting someone for this role, I look for patience, compassion, emotional maturity, an excellent communicator with great skills, and someone dependable, someone with a genuine desire to help people. Now check, we're two personalities away from the hunter. The hunter says next. The customer champion says, hey, take your time. The hunter is energized by starting those new relationships while the champion is energized by growing them. Now what motivates this champion is helping people. They like developing long-term relationships and delivering customer satisfaction. They want to see clients succeed. What frustrates them are customers who are promised something unrealistically. Problems that could have been prevented or having to clean up after someone else's mess. Here's something every business owner should remember. The sale isn't completed when the customer buys. The sale is completed when the customer buys again and then tells someone else about you. That's when you've created an advocate, not just a client, but someone who says, hey, you know what? You have to call my man Bill. You need to work with his company because I've worked with them for years and they treated me extremely well. Those referrals don't happen because of clever marketing schemes. They happen because someone made them feel valued. Really effective champions turn into lead generators for your business. I often say, service can be your new sales. When executed correctly, service can generate lots of new business and referrals and also recurring business for your organization. Now, here's where the episode becomes really personal. As you've been listening, I want you to think about yourself. Which personality made you smile? Which one made you think, hey, that's me? Which one made you think, oh, Lord, please don't make me do that stuff again? So now you've met all three personalities. But let me introduce you to a fourth, and it's the business owner. Now, this is where things start to really change because the business owner wakes up wondering, how is supposed to be all three of these personalities before lunch? And that's the challenge. It's no wonder so many business owners start to feel overwhelmed. Here's what you need to understand. You don't have to love all three roles. You don't even have to be naturally gifted at all three. But you do have to recognize which of those roles would you not be the right person for. That's where self-awareness becomes a business strategy. Which of those three roles do you avoid? Not the one you're weakest at, because that could be fixed, but the one you avoid, because avoidance tells a story. Revisit my opening. You blocked out 2 hours for prospecting, but 1 hour was procrastinated away before you even made a call. You then may make 9 or 10 calls where people rudely tell you no, or some of them don't even pick up at all. You then conclude, hey, you know what? This isn't the right time of day for me to call. So you pack it in. Now, many of us, if we're being honest, we've been there before. Your mind was looking to do something more enjoyable than the task in front of you. That's procrastination. But procrastination is a clue and points to the role you're resisting. In this case, it may be the prospector or the hunter. But prospecting isn't your issue. Let's say it's not. Maybe you're fantastic at generating leads and you love it, but once it's time to ask for the business, oh man, you freeze up. You start talking about, hey, I got this discount for you, or you give extra proposals, or you have unnecessary meetings. Really, what you're doing is just avoiding asking for the business. Or possibly you love closing and thrive on the excitement, but after the sale, you go ghost, you disappear. You don't return calls and you don't check in. Your customer starts to feel forgotten. Every one of these behaviors has the same consequence. The business stops growing. And it's not because you're lazy, and it's not because you lack intelligence or because you don't care, but it's because one of the three roles isn't getting the attention it deserves. This is where you have to become brutally honest and ask yourself a few questions. Which role gives me energy? Which role drains me? Which role do I consistently procrastinate on? Which role would I gladly do even if I wasn't being paid for it? Now make some business decisions. If you're naturally strong in any role, lean into it. If you're weak in one, develop it. Get training. Hire a coach. Build the skill up. But if it's consistently draining your energy, ask yourself if someone else should be wearing that hat. The way we build companies today has really changed. There are many options for your support in your company today. But what's not an option is pretending the problem doesn't exist. Because ignoring it doesn't remove it. It only makes it more expensive on the back end. I want to leave you with something practical. So here's this week's Business Moves Challenge. At some point this week, take out a piece of paper, draw 3 columns, label them Hunter, Closer, Champion. Now, honestly rate yourself from 1 to 10 in each area. You could rate it 1 to 10 on your talent. It could be with results. It could be on your passion for the role. It could be all 3. Then circle your lowest score. That area is probably where your next business breakthrough is hiding. Now, don't spend the next month trying to become better at everything. Become better at the thing that's holding everything else back. Because one improvement in the right area can change your entire business. Remember, it's that 1% change every day that takes you from good to great. My final thought. Businesses don't stop growing because people stop working. Most entrepreneurs I've worked with work incredibly hard. Businesses stop growing because one critical role quietly breaks down. Make sure all 3 roles in your business are up to speed, whether you do it yourself, you build a system, you use technology, or develop a team, because sales isn't one job, it's 3. And businesses that understand that will grow faster, they'll grow stronger, and you'll build relationships that last. This has been the Business Moves Blueprint. If any of you are struggling with any of the thoughts in this episode, reach out to us. We have supported many businesses before and would love to support you as well. Oh, and by the way, don't procrastinate anymore. Subscribe to the Business Moves Blueprint podcast today. I'll see you soon with another timely business move from our blueprint. I'm Rashid Hanif. Peace.